And welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Franzi. Tommy Skinner, who's VP of Shift Freight, is our second guest. Our audience demographic is 98% business owners and executives who listen to learn from the experiences of our guests. If your firm is interested in reaching these top decision makers, then advertising on our radio show may be the answer. Each month, our sponsors gain valuable exposure through their support and association with our program. Last month, we delivered over 37,000 highly targeted sponsor impressions a month. If you want to reach CEOs of middle market companies in Southern California and across North America, then advertising on Critical Mass radio shows may be the answer. To learn more, contact Rose Chamorro at 951-515-4661. That's 951-515-4661. Please, don't everyone call at the same time. All of our shows can be found on our website, criticalmass4business.com. All right, Tommy Skinner, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Let's start by talking about you. Can you give us a little sense for your professional background, kind of your path to your current position?
Sure. In some respects, it's probably not a conventional one, but I think there's some themes throughout my life that play out. I really have a background in customer service. You'd probably scratch your head because I'm a CPA. Typically,
I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
Right? Yeah, typically you think of an accountant in the back office crunching numbers.
Yeah.
But I work for a professional services firm historically. Really, we just sold our ideas and ourselves. So I spent a lot of time in front of clients and really worked for a great firm that helped me understand the value of customer relationships and in a customer experience. I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial background. An opportunity with Shift Freight came about, and it seemed to be the right guy to engineer the perfect customer experience.
So that's your area of responsibility. You're vice president at Shift Freight. What's your area of responsibility, Tom?
Sure, yeah. I oversee all the operations. So there's obviously significant warehousing and cross-dock component of that, the physical movement of freight, pickups, loading of trailers, delivery of the freight. The other component's really the front office, ensuring that our customer is on the phone, via email, so on and so forth, are being serviced timely, and really through a seamless experience.
Okay. And when you were working in the as a CPA, were you doing that here in Southern California?
No, actually, I'm a Midwest guy.
You are?
Born and raised in Michigan.
I've heard of it.
Worked for a number of years in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
And how did you end up in Southern California?
That really kind of comes down to the opportunity. L.A. is really the freight mecca of the country. So if you think about
ports and
exactly, if you think about California as an economy itself, it's one of the largest in the world.
Right.
Port of Long Beach is one of the largest ports in the world. So as you can imagine, there's a ton of freight here.
So you go where the customers are.
Exactly.
I love that. So Tommy Skinner, he's VP with Shift Freight, and he's here to share the experiences of his firm. So tell me a little bit about Shift Freight and kind of what makes you different. Why would someone choose to do business with you over others who are in your space, Tommy?
Sure. I like to say that we're ultimately a customer service company that happens to move freight. I think historically, if you look at the transportation industry, the LTL space, it was typically a guy that started with a truck, realized he was good at what he did, bought another truck and 4 more trucks, and as soon as he knew it, he had a company that was servicing either a region, a concentrated region, or maybe the entire country. That said, it's kind of a gritty and antiquated industry. So we kind of came to the market saying, let's make freight sexy and let's do things a little bit.
Make freight sexy?
Let's do things a little bit
Was that in your
differently.
business model? Was that in your business plan?
I think it actually just came to mind in this moment.
It works for me. I love it.
But truly, I think taking a customer-first focus and truly developing a customer experience, we took a hard look at companies such as Zappos in the e-commerce retail business, JetBlue in the airline industry. Really looked at other role models in other industries that ultimately said, there's something that we're going to do operationally, but at the core of our business, we're going to service our customer and truly engineer an experience that's unique.
Well, that's very powerful. And those are great, iconic firms that are cross-industry that you can learn from. We believe in the power of peer learning here on Critical Mass Radio Show. That's why we even do this, to let people learn from your experience and the other guests. And that best practice of looking across industries to find iconic firms that you can model is such a great way to invent a disruptive entity inside your industry.
And that's just it. You know, I think we're trying to really, truly change the industry.
Right.
And, you know, yeah, I mean, I think those companies that I noted did just that in the spaces that they existed in.
Do you think the freight management area, the handling of materials, needs to be changed then? I mean, you obviously, your firm is being successful by doing that, so obviously there's an opportunity for that. But has it historically not been a customer service oriented industry?
Different in a lot of ways, right? I think to your point, we've been incredibly successful at what we've done. You know, we came to market with a certain model, and we're reaping the benefits and successes of this new look at the industry. You know, I look at our peers, I look at our competitors. There's a lot of things they do really well. But there's room for growth. You know, I think if you look, you read management books and things of that sort, you know, there's this term, playing in blue water, mm-hmm. right?
Blue ocean strategy.
Exactly. So we've really carved out a different part of the market. You know, obviously in capital-free markets, I mean, no company would exist if they're, you know, the customer base didn't see value.
Right.
But we've been incredibly successful at taking market share, finding the customers that really need that focus on the customer experience. It's not everybody, but you know, I think the value that we bring to the table is significant.
Okay, I'm speaking with Tommy Skinner. He's VP of Shift Freight. So, without giving away any confidential information, what is your experience of the type of companies, clients that gravitate towards your value proposition?
Yeah, interesting you say that. You know, we work almost exclusively with 3PLs. So that in and of itself is...
Can you explain 3PLs for our audience?
Sure, yeah. A third-party logistics company is really, it's an aggregate of a ton of shippers, right? So, and a ton of carriers. So it's ultimately ends up being a one-stop shop for your everyday typical middle market or small business. So a shipper will come to a 3PL with something to ship, and you know, that 3PL will go look at its carrier portfolio and find the right carrier for that move. So what we've done is presented our value proposition to the 3PLs, let them know, you know, the service we provide and what our value proposition is, and, you know, ultimately marketed to them what the right fits might be for their customers.
And those that like high-touch customer service are the type that appreciate your business model and the way you work with them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, your best 3PLs out there in general, I mean, despite their customer base, really appreciate what we bring to the table. No matter who their shipper is, you know they can call Shift Freight and get the answers they're looking for.
So what is it that is the goal of Shift Freight that makes it a differentiated experience? What would I see as a 3PL that's unique or different with you than maybe what I would see with other competitors who are in the same space?
Sure. You know, before we started Shift, you know, in the works, thinking about just the things you're talking about, differentiators, we really looked at the customer experience as a whole. Shift Freight has a long length of haul. That means that you're going to be experiencing our services anywhere from 4 days to 8 days, depending on where your shipment's traveling in the country. That said, we have a significant period of time with any given shipment to create a relationship with our customers. We develop what we call customer touch points. There's about 25 of them.
Okay.
Each one of those is really an opportunity for us to prove our value.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say, and so, frankly, I forget the original question, but I think my point is to say that that's really been our value driver, and how, from an executory standpoint, we're differentiating ourselves daily.
That's powerful. That is a best practice to look and walk the process that your customers walk, because we talk about that in the peer groups that I lead and on this radio show. That my experience is a company's brand is really made up of the experiences that your clients have with your brand, and you need to understand all the ways they experience your brand to make sure that at each one of those touch points it reinforces your brand, because my opinion is the client's direct experience with your firm is your brand, regardless of how you position yourself, marketing, the Super Bowl ads you take out. It's what I see as your consumer.
Yeah, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, and I say that to anyone that hasn't tried us. You know, I get the opportunity to talk with a ton of prospects, as well as, you know, customers that have used us dozens of times. And that's the beauty of it. Those that haven't tried us yet, I can speak 7 ways from Sunday about our fantastic, high 90s on time percentage, and our incredibly low, claims ratio. But at the end of the day, I have to tell them, get a shipment in our network and let me prove it to you.
Okay, we have about a minute left before our next commercial break. How important has technology been in enabling your business model?
Absolutely pivotal.
Why?
I mean, it is at the foundation of everything we do. Why? I guess for one, we talk about that customer experience, right? So, one of our key drivers is to create seamless visibility from pickup to delivery.
Right.
So there's a lot that technology aids us in doing to ensure that we can do that. I'd say the back end side of that is efficiencies. So, striving for perfection and ultimately profitability, we know that we can leverage technology to be profitable.
Perfect. All right, Tommy Skinner, you're our guest. You're a VP at Shift Freight. We have a couple more questions for him in the next section. Don't go anywhere. We're looking at how this disruptive firm, changing the focus, using peer examples, best practices from outside the industry, is really offering a differentiated experience for clients, and I find that very fascinating. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay around. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
There's something positive about the word up. When things are looking good, they're looking up. When someone's down, you cheer them up. So how do you move up? Well, when it comes to getting your bachelor's or master's degree, there's one university that stacks up. Brandman University. Brandman is ranked by U.S. News & World Report as one of the nation's top 10 universities for online bachelor's programs. Brandman's online graduate programs in business and education also receive top honors. So look us up at brandman.edu. Brandman University. Move up.
Smart Business Network is a business-to-business multimedia company providing insight, advice, and strategy for C-level executives of fast-growth, middle-market, and large companies. As one of the nation's largest publishers of local management journals, under the Smart Business name, Smart Business Network publishes 19 regional print editions, presents dozens of large and small-scale business conferences and award programs, and produces a vibrant interactive digital media presence. For more information, visit us at www.sbnonline.com.
Richard Franzi is a highly sought-after keynote speaker on topics of interest to CEOs of middle firms across North America. Richard's talks include Killing Cats Leads to Rats, a fascinating look at how unintended consequences of CEOs' decisions impact their firm's performance. Your Gray Matter Matters, which explores how a CEO's mindset can differentiate a middle market firm and define its culture. Richard delivers talks to a variety of audiences, ranging from executive team retreats to keynotes in front of hundreds of CEOs. To learn more about his talks, visit criticalmassforbusiness.com and select the contact page or call 949-887-4104.
Welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Franzi. Tommy Skinner, VP of Shift Freight, is our guest during this segment. And I'd just like to thank and acknowledge our listeners who listen to our show as a podcast. Last month, you downloaded over 12,000 shows, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your continued and growing support. All of our shows can be heard live on internet radio station octalkradio.net or rebroadcast anytime from Apple iTunes, Stitcher.com, Spreaker.com, and various other business-oriented podcasting services. All right, Tommy, I wanted to ask you about the name Shift Freight. Can you tell us how that name came about?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think if you've been listening to this segment, a real theme is doing things differently. Shifting the industry. So, that is a pun, right?
Right.
So yeah, we're shifting freight.
So it also helps you, I think, with your culture, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the name reinforces the whole culture and the core values. It's good to market and branding, but it's probably equally as valuable as an internal cultural building mechanism.
Yeah, that's a great point. Each and every one of our team members is repeating that word, hundreds of times daily.
Right. So how many people are in the company?
There's about 10 team members here in Southern California.
10 in Southern California. So I like to ask my guests if of all the things that you've learned in your business experience, Tommy, if you've developed kind of an overarching philosophy or a belief system or an attitude and approach to business, we call it your guiding principle. And so if you can think about the things that you do and how you approach your job, is there a guiding principle that you're using in your role with Shift Freight?
That's a really great question. I think we started the show talking a lot about my background in customer service and the customer experience. I'm a Midwest guy, kind of coming from those rooted values.
Yeah, he's from Michigan. Paul's our engineer. He's from Michigan as well. I just wanted to have that connection there. But
that's a great connection.
I don't think you went to high school together or anything, but
but no, I'd say I wholeheartedly believe in the golden rule, and treat unto others as you want to be treated. And so, with that, I think internally we built a phenomenal team, and the deal of respect within our culture and the love that we have, within the Shift family is incredible. And it can also be transferred externally. I truly believe with every call that we take, every email that we write, every experience and encounter we have with our customers, there is a true care there, and there is an understanding that if we were on the other side, in the customer's shoes, we would want the service that we provide.
That is powerful. Thank you very much. I love to ask that question. I'm never quite sure what I'm going to get as an answer, but we've written 3 books so far with the answers just like that, Tommy. So thank you for contributing to a future book here in the Critical Mass book series. I understand that your company has a program where you dedicate shipments to nonprofit causes. Can you share that a little bit with our audience?
Yeah. I'm always excited to talk about it. Shift the World. It's actually, I think, one of the initiatives within our company that I hold near and dear to my heart. I think today there's often a difficulty in the for-profit world to contribute to non-for-profit causes, if you will. And we found a way to do that right in the core of our business. So for every shipment that a customer books through Shift, they can dedicate it to a cause on our website. If the cause they don't want to dedicate it to isn't on there, they're more than welcome to apply to have it on there. And with that, we'll donate $1. So it's really, I think in today's business world, unfortunately, more often than not, it's for financial reasons that a company might give to charities or not-for-profit causes, on the basis of tax deductions at year end. But we've just, I think we've fundamentally seen that, building communities, changing lives, making the world a better place can be something that companies can do day in and day out with typical business transactions.
I think that's very powerful, and other entrepreneurs that I've had on the program who have put giving at the center of the business model have told me that act has resonated with their clients as well. People do business with you not because of that, but that is an important element for many of their client population. Are you finding that with your clients?
Absolutely. People take pride in it, there are millions of shipments moving throughout this country every single day. Your typical business is shipping something. And we work with 3PLs, and that's all they do is book shipments. So I think it's been really encouraging for them to see that they can make an impact on their community or in this country or in this world merely by doing what they do every day. So, it grows month over month, almost doubling, really. And I would imagine, within a couple of years, well, hopefully, all the freight that we move has a dedicated cause to it.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Tommy. And again, I think hopefully others will listen and maybe learn from that experience and see if you can adapt or adopt a similar giving model to the heart of your business. Not where you give because you're in the community, but you give because it's benefiting the business and the constituents.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about challenges. We all have them. Can you think of just one, Tommy, that you'd like to share with our audience? What the challenge is? Almost more importantly, how is Shift Freight addressing that and mitigating that challenge from affecting your growth?
Sure. It's funny you use the word growth because I think that might be our biggest challenge. It's managing growth.
Okay.
Shift's been around for about a year now. We've seen explosive growth, really ahead of forecasted sales amounts. Things are going great, right? But with that comes growing pains. I think you got to take a hard look in ensuring that we can maintain our fundamental values and our value proposition as the organization begins to scale. So particularly because we're in the business of a customer experience and ensuring that every shipment in our network's executed flawlessly, there's a lot of risk in growth. So I guess the latter part of that question is how do you manage that? And that's building a culture of people around you that wholeheartedly see the vision for what you're trying to do and execute it every day. Training the people among the team effectively, and just maintaining that vision and keeping the pride in what we do, so that as we do it twice as much this month as we did last, and hopefully twice as much next month as we did this month, we're maintaining focus.
Right, you don't lose your core, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's a great, thank you for sharing that, because culture is key, and as you scale, it really starts with how well you hire.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I think if any one of my fellow shifters was in the room right now, they would laugh and shake their head at some of the rigor we put them through. And maybe when they were going through it, they didn't really see it at the time. But as our family of shifters has grown, everyone is trusting and understanding of the peers next to them, that they're there for the right reasons.
Right. All right. Let's talk about the future. We have about 2 minutes left here on the program,
Sure.
And I'm talking with Tommy Skinner. He is VP of Shift Freight. What does the future hold for your company?
We talked about growth. There's a whole country of freight to be had. We started in the largest outbound market within the country, moving freight into other major markets. So we have to continue to expand our footprint and provide the same great service in new markets. That's something I hear about every day. When are you going to be in the Southeast? When are you going to be in Texas? Customers.
Do you have to be physically in those markets to be in the market, or can you be virtually there from, say, a Southern California location?
Yeah, sure. So from Southern Cal, we can start to open the service offerings into other geographies. A lot of it comes down to the right partnerships, though. I think you've probably gotten the theme over the course of the show that perfection is absolutely the rule. So it's finding the right fits. But that said, customers salivate over the services we have to provide, and we just have to find ways to strategically provide those services in the rest of the country.
So do you see this as evolving into a national and maybe international brand?
Absolutely. I mean, international is hard to say, but if you really look at the strategy, definitely develop into every inbound major market from California, and subsequently inbound California from those same major markets. So essentially, ultimately building a national network that services every lane that you can imagine.
Excellent. If someone would like to learn more about Shift Freight, how do they find you online, Tommy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're really active in social media. We tweet like crazy. So at Shift Freight, tweet us. We're on a aggressive goal of 10,000 followers.
Okay.
Closing in quickly. You can also, of course, visit us on our website, www.shiftfreight.com, or give us a call. I'd love to hear from any one of your listeners.
And that number would be?
888-439-4241. The customer happiness team would love to hear from you.
Oh, I love the name. I tell you. I see a lot of parallels between what I've learned from Tony Shea at Zappos and how you guys are building your brand and model, and I think it's exciting to be able to spend that much time on culture.
Absolutely. I take a huge compliment in you saying that.
You should. I mean it that way. All right, Tommy Skinner, thank you for being a friend of the program, and welcome to the Critical Mass community.
Thank you, Rick. It's been a pleasure.
It has been. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up this show today for Critical Mass Radio Show. I hope both of the interviews gave you something to think about. Peer learning is why we do the shows. Maybe you picked up some new ideas on how you can infuse some new thinking into your company. I'd like to thank our sponsors and advertisers: Brandman University, Commercial Bank of California, Decision Toolbox, Smart Business Magazine, Succession Strategies, and Center Club of Costa Mesa. Our Michigan-born engineer is Paul Roberts. Crystal Nunley is our producer. Kathleen Shepard is our guest coordinator. Our marketing strategist is Asia Celestino. Our social media and live events coordinator is Melissa Padani. VP of Sales, Rose Chamora. And I am your host, Rick Franzi. If you'd like to learn more about Critical Mass for Business, or you want to refer a future guest or advertise on the radio show, visit criticalmass4business.com. Until the next show, I hope all of your decisions will move your company in a positive direction.